Hey book friends, welcome back to another video. Welcome to a bit of a book haul. And so what's funny is I am currently moving. Like I literally just made like an unhaul video saying I don't want to move a bunch of books, but I bought some books and I'm totally fine with it. Like these are all books I'm really excited about. Most of them I got on Pango or they were like a little bit of a Mother's Day treat. So I'm fine with that. I'll just be moving some more books and it will be okay. But let's just hop in to all the books I have kind of stress bought over the last couple of months. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back, all the things. So let's just hop in. Okay, the first book, this actually was not on my list. I just thought it was pretty. And I've been wanting to try T. Kingfisher's writing. And I felt like this might be a good entry point. I could be wrong, but I thought Sword Heart sounded really fun. A fun romantasy. I don't think cozy romantasy. I'm not really sure. And anytime I've heard people describe this book, they use like the term like sentient sword or something like that. And I was always like, the sword is alive, but I think that's not true. I think the idea is there's this ancient sword that a man appears out of, almost like a genie in a bottle, I guess, maybe. And so our desperate female main character summons him and he is sworn to kind of protect whoever wields the sword. And I'm not sure what trouble she is in, but it's a very beautiful book and I want to try it. So I picked it up. Okay, another few I picked up in a Pango order, which is a trouble about Pango. A wonderful thing about Pango and a hard thing is that usually I'll be looking for one book and then I'll be on the seller's website. I'm like, well, to make it free shipping or to make it worth my Pango bucks, I'm going to add some more. And that was what happened with this book. So this is The Final Strife by Sarah L. Arifi. Now I have heard this book is compared to like Red Rising in more of a fantastical world. And that intrigues me because I really enjoy Red Rising. And so what I remember this book to be about is it has something to do with the different colors of blood. It says red is the blood of the elites, blue is the blood of the poor, and clear is the blood of slaves. And I believe this has to do with like some of the babies being switched at birth and a revolution and resistance that comes from that. It's always been on my list just because of the Red Rising comparison, let's be honest. But this was the book that made me get on Pango, and that's The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. Now I believe this is a debut book. It's a romantasy book. Now what intrigued me was the arranged marriage trope. I feel like I really like that in romantasy. And I don't know if our main characters are a little older. That usually gets me too. So what I remember being said about this book is it's about our main character who has like this magic inside her that she doesn't understand. She doesn't know how to do anything with it. And her brother marries her off to this like ruthless foreign ruler. And she's gonna try and escape, right? But then I think he strikes a bargain with her. Like he wants something from her in exchange. He will help her like harness her magic. And it goes from there. And so I do like arranged marriages. I like that idea. And so I have high hopes for that. Okay, so this book was a pre-order of mine because I really liked The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. And so it's called The Ashfire King. I read The Stardust Thief last year. I found it very Daevabad-esque, and so it's very similar to like The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, but it had enough uniqueness that I found it really fun. So there's this prince, he's like the youngest prince, and then there's this merchant who is legendary, and it made me think of Aladdin. That was it. It made me think of Aladdin and Jasmine. It's just flipped, right? And in the first book, they're sent out in search of like this magical relic that will find a lost city buried under the sand or something to that notion. But nothing is quite what it's seen for these two main characters. And where they end at the end of that first book was so intriguing that I'm like, oh, I'm so happy the second one came out. I need to read it soon before I totally forget the plot, but I did pick that up. Okay, I also, on Pango, picked up the whole series of The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. Now I have read the first three. I've read City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass. I read them maybe like a year and a half ago. Our story in general is about our main character of Clary, who is drawn to the Shadowhunter world, who are a band of warriors who protect the humans against the demons, and they're trained up in special institutes and they take oaths and all this stuff. And the setting for this world is New York City. And in some like New York club, she meets the Shadowhunters that are like her age. I remember Jace is one of them, and like 2 others, and they are out seeking out demons, and she's drawn to them, and it goes from there. And then we have the next set, which I am reading next, and that is City of Fallen Angels, City of Heavenly Fire, and City of Lost Souls. So I just picked up the whole series for like $20 on Pango. I just couldn't resist, even though I've already read half of them. So that's one thing I picked up. And then for Mother's Day, so I was at Barnes & Noble. So this is The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramas. And the second one is called Curse of Sins. And then the third book I think comes out this year. It's a trilogy. What drew me to this series is spies, like elite group of spies that surround the queen. And our main character of Aya is dedicated to protecting the queen. She's like 3rd in command. And in this world, there's a small group of people who still have magic. It's God-given abilities to keep the dark magic from ever returning. And so she's involved in that. But it sounds like there's a bit of a feud with her and like the 2nd in command, what was his name? Will. And due to circumstances, they have to work together, although they dislike each other. I feel like that's the gist of this first one. I don't know. I was just really drawn to the spy aspect. So we'll see. Oh, okay. I also picked up this. And so I really loved the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy. It is so much fun. And so this is like the next series in that universe. It's called The Fragile Threads of Power, all by V.E. Schwab. Now, from what I understand, you really can't read this without reading the initial trilogy. It's marketed like you can, but I've heard that the enjoyment level for reading this is much better if you understand the trauma from the first book and what these characters are bringing in to the second book. Because I think there are new characters, yes, but we still have some of the other ones, like Delilah Bard. I don't know if Kel is in this. I hope Kel is in this as well. And so I don't know what this is about. But the original trilogy has to do with these different colors of London. There's like red London, white London, gray London, black London, and they all have varying levels of magic. And Kel is one of the few people that can go between the worlds, and Lila kind of tags along, and trouble ensues from that. And it's just really fun. Okay, another book I picked up that I was just intrigued by. This just sounds like something I would really like. And it's A Feather So Black by Lyra Selene. And so this is book 1 in the Fair Folk trilogy. It has to do with like a changeling. So our main character, Fia, is a rare changeling that was left behind by the wicked fair folk when they stole the High Queen's daughter. And so I think Fia is sent out by like the human queen to go find her daughter and to go into the fairy realm. I've heard it compared to the fairy tale, what's it called? Like Swan Princess? I can't quite remember which one it is. I should know my fairy tales better, but I don't know. When I heard somebody talk about this, it just intrigued me. Okay, another book I did pick up after I read it. Like I got this book from the library and I read it and I loved it. I loved it. It's so good. It's Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. It is the book that should be read between Serpent and the Wings of Night and the Star-Crossed King one, which I did not read between them, and I wish I would have, because we learn an important story about an important main character that comes up in the second book of that duology that I just feel like I would have enjoyed that second book a lot more, because this is about our main character of Lilith, who is a human in the same world as those other 2 books. And so it's very much a vampire infested world, but in her human town, there's this vampire who kind of lives a reclusive life in this house all by himself, and nobody goes there or anything like that until Lilith, who is desperate to try and cure this sickness and illness that has been spreading around her town that now her sister has. And so she is like this scientist who wants to solve it and believes she can cure it. I love Lilith because, one, she's an older character, like 30 or something older. And then I love the interactions between her and Vale, the vampire who lives in the house. You know, for being such a short book, it was so good. Like, I just loved it. I usually don't love like little novellas. I feel like there's just not enough. But this kind of had its own inclusive story that was really good, that really adds to the bigger, broader universe. I also picked up Furyborn. This is by Claire Legrand. I'm a little unsure what this is about. I got this at like a second-hand Charles, like a used bookstore. And it has to do with these 2 queens who are separated by like 1,000 years. There's the Queen of the Light and the Queen of Blood. And I think it is YA. Yes, it's YA. And I just recently made a video about my favorite YA books, which I'll link above. I don't know what I'm thinking. I included that in my TBR section of the video. And the other young adult book that is on my TBR for that video is this one, This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi, which is this like desert fantasy about a prophecy foretelling the death of a king. And one of our main characters is a servant, but it sounds like she's the long lost heir to this like Jinn kingdom or dynasty. And she interacts with the prince who is trying to get to the bottom of this prophecy and understand why she is central to it. I think it sounds fun, and I've heard really good things. All right, so 4 more books. So I did pick up this book. So this is House of Striking Oaths by Olivia Wildenstein. So I read this entire series off of Kindle Unlimited earlier this year, and I just loved it. And so I just had to have my own copies because like I want to go back and read about our main character Fallon and lore and everything they get up to. And so this is the 3rd book in the trilogy, and I did really enjoy how it concluded and all the things that went on in this series, which is a crow shifter book, but it doesn't really focus too much on that. It's more about like the politics of this big world and how Fallon, this like human girl in this fae society, has to fight for kind of her rights, and then she ends up in this whole big plot to overthrow certain things, and it's fun. Another book that I picked up to finish the series is Destroy the Day by Bridget Kimmerer. I just finished this book. I finished the series. It starts with Defy the Night, then I think Defend the Dawn, and now Destroy the Day. This was so much fun. Like, I highly recommend this whole series. It's really focused on like relationships. There's like brotherly relationships. There's also romantic relationships. And I just really enjoyed the whole series. So I picked up the 3rd one in order to read it and so that I can go back and reread it. Okay, now I picked up this book also from the used bookstore. So The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. So I think this has necromancy magic. Yeah, death magic. Okay, so our main character has been trying to hide the fact that she has death magic because it's a really rare and magical commodity that is highly sought after, but it can result in death. And I think she becomes like ensnared into the politics of whatever world she's in, and she has to kind of navigate that. I've heard good things about this whole series, and so I want to give it a shot. Okay, and then a kind of random one is this book. So it's called Book of Gothal. It's a memoir of a witch by Mary McMain. So this is very historical fantasy, and I believe it surrounds the idea of like Rapunzel and a tower and the hair. And it's set in Germany, 1156. And it says, young Heloise has been shunned by her village, and her only solstice lies in her mother's stories of witches, magic, wolfskin, and ancient mist-cloaked towers. And it sounds like upon her mother's death, she goes into the woods in search of this tower, and she finds a group of women and a group of witches. And I don't know, it just sounds atmospheric. It sounds like a kind of book I would really like. It made me think of the Agrabota book, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. It gave me kind of those feelings when I was reading the back of the book, and I'm like, I loved that book. So Book of Gothal, I'm gonna give it a try. And actually that's the last one I have in this haul, which I don't feel like it was too big. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books. If you think I'll like any of them, that's always fun. And if you can't think of anything you necessarily want to say, maybe do like a tower or a building for Book of Gothal because of Rapunzel and all of that. So anyway, that's what I have. I hope you all are well. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in the next book video. All right, guys, take care.